What is up, guys? Matt here, coming at you with another quick video. This one, I wanted to talk about these metal gear diffs that FMS have for the FCX24. A lot of people jumping on these because they seen metal gears. They wanted metal gears to replace their plastic ones. These are really meant more for a monster truck type build. These are exactly what comes in the Max Smasher, and they're basically just set up with a little bit of grease. I can't really talk about or show the Max Smasher, do a video on it, that sort of thing, until the 24th of this month, I believe, is the release now, they're saying. So look out for that, you guys. As soon as I can post a video on that thing, I will. But I have this thing built out exactly how the Max Smasher comes. All right, so it has this in the axles with a little bit of grease. I already, I pulled one apart, checked it out, and so that's how it's built. So the way that works, and the reason why it don't work for crawling, is if you watch, if we're climbing something and this tire lifts, this one's not going to spin, right? See that? That's how your open diff works, because if you're jumping and you land, you land hard on this side and you're on the throttle, it's not going to strip things out. That's what it's meant for. So you land hard, then once everything hits, you're all pulling again. So that's what keeps it from stripping and having so much trouble. But that's not good for our crawlers, because obviously when you start lifting a tire, you're not going to pull here. So we're going to take one of these and lock it up. You can see right here on the course exactly what I'm talking about. As soon as you get ready to start crawling something, that one tire just does nothing. So we're going to take one of these things and we're going to build it, we're going to lock it, and basically I'm going to start with putting silicone earplugs in it. I do this with a lot of my larger trucks. Honestly, my LMTs, when I got those, when I got my first LMT, the Gravedigger, the center diff was so loose in it, that thing had like no power. And I just went on Amain and ordered 3 spools for all 3 diffs in that thing. While I was waiting on them, I put these in there, and honestly, they've been so good, I still have the diffs sitting in the package, the spools, I mean. So I haven't even used that $100 worth of locked spools for that thing, because these have worked so well. So we're going to put just a little tiny bit in these to lock them up. It almost locks it, but it's not quite locked. You can also use JB Weld, something like that. But let's get to work on this, and we'll get it installed, and then we'll check it out. All right, so you can see I have my 2FM chassis build pulled apart here, the front. And this is basically what you have inside your axle if you haven't pulled one apart, or if you're just looking for help. This will be through that hole there, connected to your drive shaft, so you have to pull the drive shaft screw out. This is inside. This is what, turns here, right? So this is what I mean by locked. Like, this is just a locked spool, basically, to where everything turns at the same time. There is no, this side can turn while this one stays still. It all turns at the same time. It's because this is all just kind of one piece. So this is what's stock. Then when you go putting the diff in, you get all this. So let's start building this thing, get it together, show you guys what we've got. So for one, you will have to pull that out like that, and then this has a screw in the end. So you'll pull that screw out to get this gear off. All right, and then we'll have one of our metal gears that goes on there. So this has a little notch in it, like a D shape. So you'll just line it up that way. And that may be the problem. Honestly, it looks like this one is just rounded kind of. So that's probably just slipping on there. Yep, see that? So I'm able to just hold this still. So it's weird, like you gotta really look for all of your problems. I was trying to find something to stick through there, but I think you guys can see if I hold that still, this is just turning, see that? So even if you pull it apart and your gears all look fine, like the teeth, that could be your issue also. See how that just spins, and this is not turning at all. So that thing's just rotating on there. So that's my problem, which is good. Now we know the problem and we can fix it. Let's get started building this and get it put in. All right, so when you pull this out of the package, it looks like a lot, right? But it's really not bad, okay? So as you can see here, you'll have these 2 pins. Let's just pull this apart so you can see it all. You'll have this one has a hole through the center there. So this little cross goes together. Then you're gonna have a gear on each side of that, facing inward so they can work together. Just little bitty pieces. It's kind of hard to work with. So that's going to be just like that. If we can keep it together. All right, so now we're just going to take this guy, drop one of these gears down in there, just like that. Then you're going to fit your cross section that just came apart. And drop that in just like that. Okay. Now this is when I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my shim on this side. You can put it down in the other side. I don't think it would matter. When I built, or when I pulled apart the Max Smasher, this is how they had it built. So I'm just going to do it that way. So now we're going to use one of these earplugs or a piece of it. It's not going to take much. Might not be a bad idea to put a little grease in there. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to basically lock this thing up. So I'm just going to kind of break a piece off, put it in there to where it basically fills this thing up. It'll work its way in, just like that. Now you don't want to get it too full to where you have to rely on the screws to really pull the gear in. You want to make sure it fits down in there easily, and then the screw goes in nice and easy. You don't want to strip out the housing. You need that to fit pretty tight down in there. And then you're going to line up your screw holes here. They are very hard to see because they are tiny. See how that went in though? Fits pretty nice and clean. This is the only part I don't like about this. These screws look pretty tiny. They are tiny. I'm just gonna run this screw in. All right, so that thing now is basically pretty much locked up. Should be. So I don't see that slipping at all. But we're gonna find out. I'm gonna install it and we'll find out. So that's all there is to that. And then this gear, of course, replaces the main issue we were having right here. Line up the D-ring part. slip it on that shaft, put your screw back in. So we're good there. I don't see these holding oil well. You know, these are supposed to be able to hold oil, I guess, but I don't see them holding oil well because they have no seals. So unless you're just, I think you're gonna have to put like a really thick grease in there or something like that for these to work. But we're gonna find out how it works the way I just built it here. Basically pretty much locked up with that earplug. So we'll get this installed and see how she runs. So you can see we just basically have this now instead of this plastic gear. And like I said, you can fill that with JB Weld if you want to put JB Weld in there or something to lock it up for sure. I have, like I said, ran the earplugs in plenty of larger trucks and they do fine. I haven't really crawled a lot with those, so not sure on that, but we'll see how these do. So you should have a bearing there. Let me drop this thing back in. Now these, I'm going to put some grease on these because these gears are actually going to be turning and working together. The ones on the inside, I didn't bother because I basically locked those things. They're not really going to turn much, if any, hopefully. A lot of people ask what grease I use. I used to always just use a big tub from Walmart, but about anything will work. I'm using this Track Power gear grease. I've had that for years. Got it from the hobby shop. And then you just got to make sure you put this in the right way. Easy way to tell is your FMS logo goes up. So you can see this is made to sit in here. Pretty easy. It'll go just like that. So get our bearings. Don't want to forget our servo mount. So I'm sure you can see the way I pulled this apart. I just took the screw out of here and pulled this whole steering knuckle and everything off. That's the easiest way because you don't have to take none of your axle stubs apart or anything. So that's the easiest way to just get this out and then take those 4 screws out to pull that case off. And then when you're trying to get this back in, you just usually got to keep a little pressure on it and kind of turn this a little bit until things line up. Like that. And it goes right together. We'll put our screw in the back. If you're doing this on a new stock truck, your screw may be in the front. We move them to the back because you get just a little bit more steering. drive shaft back. We're gonna make sure the ears on it here line up with the ears on that side. It's basically phasing your drive shaft. See, I kept a little pressure pushing in on that, just rolled the axle a little bit, it slid right in. It's the easiest way to do that because you're just lining up the shaft inside there. It has that little D shape. I may try to put a little thicker grease or something in my monster truck build instead of fully locking it. I mean, I may end up locking it, but I don't think it's a bad idea having it open for the monster trucks. Just not too sure how the stock grease that comes in them is going to work. It seems a little light, so I imagine I'm going to be thickening that up. I'll be glad to have this thing back running. I was down in Gatlinburg last week, and I took this and I was ready to run it. I took the Cayman. I got some good footage with it as well, so we'll be posting that up hopefully. But I was really wanting to drive this thing. I just hadn't drove it in a while. And as soon as I tried to do anything with it, the front just quit pulling. And I was like, And I really, I took quite a few parts with me for the 24s, but I really didn't want to spend my vacation like completely rebuilding this thing when I had other trucks to run. So I got a lot of time in with the Cayman, and this thing that's lurking in the back corner, I'll show you guys what's up with that. I'll be posting a video on that soon, so keep your eye out for that. I'm gonna get the wheels and tires and body back on this, and we're gonna go run it just a little bit to show you guys how she runs now. So this thing seems to crawl pretty good with this diff in the front. I haven't noticed any issue with one wheel spinning and the other not. I couldn't even really turn one by hand before hooking it all up. So I'm pretty sure that this is basically locked. Over time, maybe those earplugs, I know in my LMT, like it gets a little thinner, just, kind of being worked around and stuff. So maybe over time it could. I will try to update you guys on it as far as how it's going. But the little bit of crawling I did with it here just to kind of test it out, everything seemed to be good. It crawled exactly like the stock setup did. So I don't see any issues with this. You can definitely put just some JB Weld or something in there, and then you won't have to worry about it. But, I just chose to go with the earplugs, and because I had them for one, and I've had it work well in the past, and figured I can always take it out and JB Weld it if I wanted to. So you can see I made this line not really how I wanted to make it at all. Got all out of whack here and squirrely, but was able to come out of it somewhat kind of crazy. But overall, this thing's crawling really good, just like it is. After spending some time with the Cayman, it just seems like that thing has a little more clearance than this does. Like I've got this setting very, very low. Running the hard body, I kind of wanted it low, but it does kind of drag that belly. And you guys probably know, if you watch the channel much, that drives me nuts. Like I'm not real big on an angled skid just because I seem to drag those a lot. And this thing's sitting super low. I kind of hang that up sometimes. But overall, I love this build, and it's killing some stuff, honestly. I got a pretty cool shock setup on this thing that I'm really liking, so probably going to update kind of a shock video. I know I've been saying that for a while, but I've just kind of been playing around with stuff and getting it what I really like. And this setup here seems to work really well, so we'll probably go over that at some point. And just one more video that's coming. So you guys make sure you're subscribed, click the bell so you get notified, and I'll keep them rolling. I got lots coming. Appreciate you guys. Peace.